Dar St Andrews, welcome to Monday Morning Assembly. Hope you're all well today. We're going to start with our Welsh phrase of the week, which this week is ynni ddim. I don't know, ynni ddim. Okay, of course, you know we've been looking at E for engagement as part of our REACH curriculum, and why it's important to engage in our learning. And to be able to engage in our learning, we must believe that we can all get better at something. It's about how you think and feel rather than what you can and cannot do. Remember that growth mindset that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Last week, we particularly focused on perseverance. That saying, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. So that's not give up, okay, St Andrews. So keep going with that home learning. You're doing an amazing job, and just keep that going for us. So this week, have a look at my picture and see if you can think or guess what we might be thinking about this week. What can you see? Lots of question marks. This week we're going to be focusing on questions and why questions are important. I have a little poem for you. I have some honest serving men. They help in all I do. Their names are what and why and when and how and where and who. Then there are two others whose names are can and will. They often whirl around my head. My brain is never still. I learn by asking questions. It helps me as I grow, working to give me knowledge, answering things I need to know. Have a little think about that poem and what it's telling you. I've got a question for you. Does everybody or anybody that you know everything there is to know? Maybe have a talk to someone with you about that question. Of course not. There are lots of things that lots of people don't know. There are definitely many things that I don't know, and you can learn new things all the time. So if I wanted to learn how to do some amazing dance moves, I could perhaps talk to Miss Desmond and ask her the questions I need to know to help me to do that. If I wanted to fix something in the school, I could maybe ask Mr. Burgoyne and he could answer my questions about how to do that. There's always new things to find out and new things to learn. So you will need to ask questions so that you'll know what to do, so you can find out things about someone, you can get help to get somewhere, and to check the meaning of something or to help you to understand something. And that's where questions can be very important when we're doing our learning. I'm going to share a story with you now, and this story demonstrates to you the importance of why you need to ask questions and to not be afraid to ask questions. So I'm just going to share my screen with you.
The Emperor's New Clothes. Many years ago, in a great big palace, there lived an emperor who loved many things. He loved food. More. Bring me more. He loved jewelry. Superb. But most of all, he loved himself. Oh, magnificent. And because the emperor loved himself so much, he thought it only natural that everyone else must love him as well. So, as a gift to his subjects, he commanded the greatest artists in the land to ensure that his glory would live forever. How do I look? Wonderful. Brilliant. Fabulous. It was, of course, very hard work looking fabulous every day, but fortunately the emperor had another great love. He simply adored wearing beautiful, elegant, and extremely expensive new clothes. In fact, he frittered away all his money on these costly threads, and if perchance somebody needed to see the emperor about emperor matters, his servants always gave the same reply.
The emperor is in his dressing room.
One day, two crafty swindlers arrived at the emperor's palace with a crafty, swindling plan. They claimed to be weavers of a rare and extraordinarily beautiful cloth. A cloth with a very unusual trait. It was completely invisible to those short in the brains department. In other words, if you couldn't see the cloth, you were downright stupid. By wearing these clothes, I'll be able to distinguish the clever from the stupid. Yes, I must have clothes woven for me at once. And with that, the emperor handed over a pile of cash. The swindlers stuffed the money into their bag and pretended to work. The next day, the emperor sent his minister to the great hall to see how his new clothes were coming along. The old minister went to the hall where the two swindlers sat working at the empty looms.
What's this? Can't see a thing.
But that's not what he told the emperor.
Oh, the pattern and those colours. Oh, it's exquisite. Positively the most wonderful fabric I have ever seen.
And with that, the excited emperor hurried over to the great hall, eager to see the clothes for himself. There he saw the two swindling weavers sitting at the loom, weaving away at thin air. What's this? I can't see a thing. This is terrible. Does this mean I am stupid? I'd better say. Oh, it's very beautiful. I give it my highest approval. The emperor's ministers looked on also. They too saw nothing but an empty loom. Yet like the emperor, they said,
Magnifique. Exquisite.
Excellent, excellent, I think.
The swindlers cut and trimmed at the air with big shears and said,
Here you go. There are the trousers.
And here is the dress coat.
Here is the train. Now look, it's almost like having nothing on, but that is exactly like their virtue.
Outside the palace, the townsfolk looked on as the emperor appeared in a special procession to show off his marvelous new clothes. And there he came, parading through the streets beneath his royal canopy in all his glory. The townsfolk were astonished at what they saw. But nervously they thought, are we being stupid?
The emperor's new clothes are beyond compare. Good golly, those trousers? What a lovely coat. Oh.
Alas, nobody wanted to admit what they really saw, for fear of being labelled stupid. But then, a little child spoke from the audience.
But he doesn't have anything on.
The silly things that children say,
said the child's father.
But he doesn't have anything on.
Then the crowd began to murmur and whisper. The child's right. He's completely and utterly buck naked.
No, I can't see.
No, that's the whole point. You can't see. He's got nothing on. He's got a stitch on. The emperor cringed, but he reasoned,
I have to make it through the procession.
So he stood, tall and proud, and marched on through the crowd, naked as the day he was born.
Okay, so in that story, nobody was brave enough to ask the questions and ask about why they couldn't see the material because they were too afraid that they would look silly. And it wasn't until the young little girl spoke out that anybody actually was brave enough to talk about it. So my message here to you is, do not be afraid to ask a question. We have a saying at St Andrews amongst all the teachers that no question is a stupid question, because you all always need to know the answers to certain things to help you do the jobs that you're doing. Just remember, asking questions makes us more aware and keeps us safe. It's a way that we can learn about other people and our friends. We shouldn't be afraid to ask a question, because to ask a question does not mean that we are silly. In fact, wise people ask more questions. And the reason I really wanted to talk to you about this today is because you're at home and it's not so easy to ask the questions that you want to ask. So please use your live lessons if you're in them, or your Seesaw, to ask the questions you need to know the answer to. I know from teaching my own children at home, it can often be really tricky to know exactly what the teacher's asking us to do, because we haven't spoken to the teacher directly maybe about that job. So don't be afraid to get a question in the chat or to ask questions when you're in your live learning sessions. Okay, let's just have a reflection and a little think. Have a think, what could your big question be for today? Maybe it's something you want to think about when you've looked at your blended learning menus, or maybe it's just something you want to ask about that you've seen on the news, or you've seen when you've been watching the television. Think about what you'd like to know the answer to, and think about who you're going to ask or how you're going to find out about getting it. Say our prayer together. Diolch I ti am I byd, diolch am ein ffrindiau I gyd. Thank you everybody for listening again this week. I hope that's given you something to think about, and I'm looking forward to seeing all those lovely Twitter feed pictures that you're putting on about all the learning that you're doing this week. That's it from me for now. I'll leave you with our Bruno Mars song, and I hope you have an amazing week. Stay safe everybody. Dabor chi.
When you wanna do something that's new and it seems really, really hard to do, you feel like quitting, you feel you're through. Well, I have some advice for you. Don't give up, keep on trying, you're gonna make it. I ain't lying, don't give up, don't ever quit. Try and you can do it. Don't give up, yeah. If you want to catch a ball, but you're having no luck at all, the ball hits your head, it hits your nose, it hits your belly, your chin and toes. Well, try again. Keep on trying, and soon then you'll put your hands out in the air. You'll catch that ball, yes, this I swear. Don't give up, keep on going. You're on a ball, so keep on rolling. Don't give up, don't ever stop. Try, and you'll come out on top. Don't give up. You got yourself new roller skates, you put them on and you feel great. You stand up, but then you fall. Don't think you can skate at all. You get back up and then you trip. You skip and tip and slip and flip. Well, try some more, and soon you're skating across the floor. So give up, keep on moving, you're gonna